An aviation accident is defined by the Convention on International Civil Aviation Annex 13 as an occurrence associated with the operation of an aircraft, which takes place from the time any person boards the aircraft with the intention of flight until all such persons have disembarked, and in which a person is fatally or seriously injured, b. the aircraft sustains significant damage or structural failure, or c. the aircraft goes missing or becomes completely inaccessible. Annex 13 defines an aviation incident as an occurrence, other than an accident, associated with the operation of an aircraft that affects or could affect the safety of operation. A hull loss occurs if an aircraft is destroyed, damaged beyond repair, lost, or becomes completely inaccessible. The first fatal aviation accident was the crash of a Rosier balloon near Vimieux, France, on June 15, 1785, killing the balloon's inventor, Jean-François Pilatre de Rosier, and the other occupant, Pierre Romain. The first involving a powered aircraft was the crash of a Wright Model A aircraft at Fort Myer, Virginia, in the United States on September 17, 1908, injuring its co-inventor and pilot, Orville Wright, and killing the passenger, Signal Corps Lieutenant Thomas Selfridge. The first aircraft incident in which 200 or more people died occurred on March 3, 1974, when 346 died in the crash of Turkish Airlines Flight 981. As of April 2020, there have been 33 aviation incidents in which 200 or more people died. The largest loss of life on board a single aircraft is the 520 fatalities in the 1985 Japan Airlines Flight 123 incident. The largest loss of life in multiple aircraft in a single incident is the 583 fatalities in the two airplanes that collided in the 1977 Tenerife airport disaster, while the largest loss of life overall in a collective incident is the 2,996 fatalities in the coordinated terrorist destruction of airplanes and occupied buildings in the 2001 September 11 attacks. 2,996, the deadliest aviation-related disaster of any kind, considering fatalities on both the aircraft and the ground, was the destruction of the World Trade Center in New York City on September 11, 2001. On that morning, 4 commercial aircraft traveling on transcontinental flights from East Coast airports to California were hijacked after takeoff. The 4 hijacked aircraft were subsequently crashed in 4 separate suicide attacks against major American landmarks by 19 Islamic terrorists affiliated with Al-Qaeda. American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175 were intentionally crashed into the north and south towers respectively of the World Trade Center, destroying both buildings in less than 2 hours. The World Trade Center crashes killed 2,753. The vast majority of fatalities being occupants of the World Trade Center towers or emergency personnel responding to the disaster. In addition, 184 were killed by American Airlines Flight 77, which crashed into the Pentagon. 40 passengers were also killed when United Airlines Flight 93 crashed into a Somerset County, Pennsylvania field after passengers fought back and prevented the hijackers from reaching their designated target. This brought the total number of casualties of the September 11 attacks to 2,996. As deliberate terrorist acts, the 9/11 crashes were not classified as accidents, but as a mass killing. These events were subsequently treated by the United States and the member nations of NATO as an act of war and terrorism. 583. The Tenerife airport disaster, which occurred on March 27, 1977, remains the accident with the highest number of airliner passenger fatalities. 583 people died when a KLM Boeing 747 attempted to take off without flight clearance and collided with a taxiing Pan Am 747 at Los Rodeos Airport on the Canary Island of Tenerife, Spain. All 234 passengers and 14 crew of the KLM aircraft died and only 61 of the 396 passengers and crew of the Pan Am aircraft survived. Pilot error was the primary cause, as the KLM captain began his takeoff run without obtaining air traffic control clearance. Other contributing factors were a terrorist incident at Gran Canaria Airport that had caused many flights to be diverted to Los Rodeos, a small airport not well equipped to handle aircraft of such size, and dense fog. The KLM flight crew could not see the Pan Am aircraft on the runway until immediately before the collision. The accident had a lasting influence on the industry, particularly in the area of communication. An increased emphasis was placed on using standardized phraseology in air traffic control communication by both controllers and pilots alike. Cockpit resource management has also been incorporated into flight crew training. The captain is no longer considered infallible, and combined crew input is encouraged during aircraft operations. 520. The crash of Japan Airlines Flight 123 on August 12, 1985, is the single aircraft disaster with the highest number of fatalities. 520.